Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. It is February the 13th. The boys are all back together and we're here to discuss some preseason news. We got a few preseason reports. George is going to go through. That's him and JD's bread and butter. This is their favorite time of the year, so we'll let them go and update us on a few things there. We're going to talk about our top two in each position. We've probably come to the agreement of the top of each position, so we're going to try and see what we all think for the next D2, D3, stuff like that. Forward strategy, the forward line, as we all know, if we've had a look at the game this year, is an absolute mess. And then we're going to discuss some highly owned players that we think we might be fading as a bit of fun at the end. So how are we, boys? George, you all good up top? How's it going? How's the recovery going?
Good. Very good. 2 months into that. The work done on the hair. Still have to wear the hat for now, but takes a good 4 months to see results. But yeah,
it's actually been challenging. Well, I'm just curious.
No. The first month,
you're good.
First few nights could not sleep at all.
Really?
Sleeping with your head upright and try not to move and all that stuff. But yeah, I think the last podcast we did, JD brought it up straight away, and looks like we're continuing.
Sorry, mate, I'm catching up with you, so yeah, that's all right. Last one, we won't do it from here.
That's all right.
JD, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I had the courtesy to ask beforehand this time, man. Jeez, talk about putting him on the spot. No, I'm all right. I'm looking forward to what we got. Like intra-club games getting streamed live from tomorrow. So signed up for the North intra-club. So yeah, things are really getting into peak preseason mode where we're just desperate for some footy. So good to discuss some of the key topics, get through some of the key news, and hopefully we'll click our fingers and before we know it, it'll be round zero will have passed and we'll actually be into the thick of the real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I could have brought up something else that, sort of missed in the last month or so, but I thought we'd leave that one parked. So, George, preseason reports, mate. You've got, as I can look on my right here, my other monitor, an absolute slab of writing. So we'll try and get through it quickly, but in somewhat maybe discuss some points that we think are pretty relevant. So take it away.
Yeah, these reports, I mean, most days I check. We've got in our Discord preseason reports section. So people that find stuff, whether that's like a big footy, preferably a track watcher, but mostly it's like afl.com.au articles or Herald Sun or whatnot, or Twitter. You got the journos and stuff going down to training. So stuff like that. We'll try to keep you guys up to date as much as possible. I know for myself, I check this stuff daily. And I guess my research is less into the numbers. A lot of the numbers in the back of my head. It's more into just preseason reports, and we're still trying to figure out this forward line and whatnot. But I'll read what we've got out, and you guys can.
George's a big vibes guy. I just wanted to check. Have you got into the Instagram posts yet?
Oh yes, I did leave that out with that Big Footy Twitter and the Big Trifecta Instagram.
Well, I was made aware of this Connor McDonald one or something. George somehow spotted him in some YouTube video. Like, how did you find that?
Yeah, that was on Big Footy. I didn't know the guy. But the guy's a popular YouTuber. He does goes around in rough areas, Melbourne's roughest area, and then Connor McDonald's face shows up for 5 seconds. He's hanging out there.
This is the patented ex-baller metric that George runs over Instagram to figure out are they a baller or not. Very scientific. It produced many great premium picks. Thankfully, he spares the Discord from actually sharing a lot of these thoughts and insights most of the time.
Well, we do remember Dunkley was hanging out with Antonio Brown, and when he was fully fit, he was just about the top scorer. So, I'm
not sure that's a claim these days, but
yeah. I'm worried about what he was putting the work in before dunks. Yeah.
Anyway, look, we'll get into the preseason
reports of your older videos. What back in the day, just it's just funny stuff, mate. But hey, it works to an extent for you. It might not work for everyone, but it works for George.
It sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's all part of the fun. So we'll go by each club, basically, read a few lines from what's happening at each club. So start with the Crows. Dan Curtin is a popular rookie at the moment. Sounds like he should play round one. He's had some knee soreness, but he has been training recently. Had been limited to jogging for a while there, but it sounds like he's back training. I'm not sure in full capacity just yet, but he's one that we can look at. I'm not sure where he fits, because his utility. Crows have a lot of defenders, but I think one that we need to carefully monitor, 180k rookie, is Dan Curtin. A bit of talk over Isaac Rankin's mid-time. There was a podcast on SEN with Laird, and Laird basically said Rankin, a couple CBAs here and there, and mostly high half forward. So you would have seen maybe that Rankin more mid-time. This one's from Instagram. Lockie Neal's arms. Have you guys seen them?
Wow. I actually haven't. Is it more tats than he had last year? Like he's got a few.
You
more?
will confuse his arm for Tom Liberatore. Put it that way.
Really?
Are they all wonky stickers as well?
Seems like it. I haven't looked deeply into it, but I do follow Lockie, and it did pop up on my feed.
Oh.
That is a one to look out for.
This is third on the list.
He's got more birds. Oh, I see. He's got Fugazi. He's got a lobster. Yeah, this is very Liberatore-esque. He's got a rose. I cannot tell what that is. It looks like a salt shaker. I don't know. Maybe he can become the official mascot for the Discord if it's a salt shaker.
But yeah, I thought some interesting choices there. Old Gold Coast, they've been passing the tattoo gun around too. Another one from Carlton. So Zach Williams has joined in with the main group.
George, sorry, you can't just glaze past this. For those that listening at home, tattoos, good or bad, and please explain why.
Tattoos bad. They're toxic.
Should we just say what happens, JD? Like George will see a player nearly every second day. He's got these new tats. He's mentioned someone today, like some 10-year-old guy on YouTube that's just got tatted up, and George will say,
"Yeah, not happy about it."
So and so, look at these tats. Like hates it. Like
carried away
3 or 4 times a week without fail. So. To anyone who's watching that has tattoos.
I'll tell you what, he comes from the Dodoro school of recruitment then, because Dodoro likes the clean cut kids as well. No one with tats. So
just skips over the public school boys.
Exactly. All right, so tattoos bad. Neil, I mean, if he was already in doubt, just strike him off your list.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, sorry. Please continue on.
We'll move on. We'll get a little bit more serious now. Zach Williams did a bit of work with the main group and did a match sim and looked good apparently. And you hear them talk about how highly they rate him internally. Moving on to Collingwood. So one for our bench, Reef McInnes kicked 4 goals in a match sim. So he could be in line for that McStay position. Finn McRae, not sure if he's best 22 or not. I did look at their teams or their match sim, and the names were pretty even across each team. So I don't think we know for sure if he's going to be in the 1s or 2s just yet, but still we're waiting on that one.
The hot tip I'm hearing is Reef's in those Collingwood best 22s and Finn's on the outside. So I'd be planning to not have him at this point.
Okay, I do hope we get him though. Would be nice, but yeah, not encouraging there. Over to Essendon, Merritt's dropped a bit of weight. Would that be good or bad, JD?
Does that mean he left Essendon Footy Club? Because he's been carrying a lot of weight on his back for a while. How's he dropping all that weight? I don't know. It's neither here nor there. I don't like. He's not exactly a particularly beefy guy to begin with. So I'm not like a bit of extra running capacity. It's not like I think the ones where it's been a problem in the past has been like Cripps, Steele, these types where they've been big contested bulls. They've tried to drop weight and then they kind of haven't been good at anything. Like the extra running capacity that they got
wasn't really used.
Yeah, it wasn't that useful, and they lost their contested edge. So for someone like Merritt, who's probably a balanced mid anyway, more inside outside, that's probably fine. But I mean, it guess depends on how much weight, and we'll see in the preseason. I wouldn't read into it too much.
Yep, and then Merritt also made the comment that Parrish has been the best trainer on the track this preseason, looking pretty good at the moment.
The plane's ready for takeoff, boys. Jump on board.
I'll see you last.
Yeah, Malaysia Airlines there. And then young Hobbs. I'm a big fan of Hobbs, even though I got burnt by trading him in last year. Shoulder injury. Do you know the timeline by any chance, Jackson?
I believe it was just a stinger. So I think there's a chance he's still back from round 1. But there was talk that he may actually not end up in the best 22 anyway, especially if they decide to put Setterfield back in there. Still want to persist with Caldwell. So he might do some extra development time in the 2s this year.
Yep. Sardis has done a bit of work mostly on the wing this preseason, but has looked good. Nick Martin, your boy JD, is playing halfback and taking kick-ins. So that's one we're all watching carefully.
Lock him in. From the big footy people I've spoken to, it's still a bit of a mix on kick-ins, and the last session didn't have Ridley either. So wait and see exactly how much kick-ins he gets. But yeah, the halfback role seems real.
Yep. Moving on to Fremantle, and Heath Chapman, unfortunate, be devastated, had that massive hamstring surgery, and now is looking at an 8 to 10 week hamstring at the moment. So he's missing round 1. So he'd be devastated with that.
Take him out of your sides, move on.
Yep. Nat 5 fully fit, playing inside midfield. Bit of a squeeze in the Freo midfield at the moment, but he's looking fully fit, and ownership's very high at the moment.
It should go higher. It should go higher. Everyone, get in 5. Let's go.
Are you on board, Enno?
Let's park that till later. Get through this stuff.
Yeah, still a fair bit more to go through. Alex Sexton playing half back. That'll be interesting for the Suns. And
133k forward. So interesting if he gets the role, but probably on the outside of the best 22.
Yeah, they've got like Powell, and Buderick has been touted to play the Jaden Short role. This will be his first full preseason in a long time. So one we're watching, a bit expensive at 300k, but could be the main distributor back there. So we're keeping our eyes peeled for that one.
That's your Chapman replacement. Slot him in.
Moving on to the Giants, young Darcy Jones is supposed to have a big impact this year, according to Toby Green. They do like him. I think he had a pretty bad injury all last year, but he's highly touted there. So it might be one for your forward bench. I think that's all we've got from the Giants. Moving on to
Cadman's been talked up as well, but key position forward, break glass in case of emergency type scenario.
Yeah, has put on a few kilos too. Finn Callahan as well was one they're touted to break out. We saw Josh Kelly move more to the wing. Does that mean Callahan goes more inside? I guess a bit of an awkward price, but one to watch. Connor McDonald. Moving on to Hawthorn, Connor McDonald played a lot on the wing. So you look at that, the additions of Hardwick, Watson, and Ginnivan to that Hawthorn forward line. It might be a bit of a squeeze there. And I've heard even Dylan Moore's rotated a bit on the wing. Not much, but more so. Connor McDonald played a lot on the wing in match sim. So I think, myself, we're hoping a bit more mid-time. But it sounds like he will get a bit of mid-time. But that Sam Mitchell's got some magnet flicking around business stuff going there.
Well, it's like a circle, right? Amon going back, Hardwick going forward, so forward going on the wing. It's just like a rotation.
So that's
who knows?
That's a big watch in the preseason for who plays where. Moving on to Melbourne, Jack Billings played in the second team. A little bit concerning. I was hopeful that he would make the ones, but it's only training, so it's just an observation at this point.
I still think there's a chance. George, actually just when I was cooking dinner before watching track on Dylan Friends, I think it came out today or yesterday, and he was talking Billings up big time. And look, most people do, the new teammate, blah, blah, blah. But he said, he's what they need, some good inside 50 kicking, because he's like me myself, I've been terrible at it. He brings that, actual polish into the forward line. So I still think there's hope. You don't really probably get a guy like that across to not at least give him a go. Whether that's straight up, we don't know.
I mean, all the reports on Billings I've read are very, very positive.
Very good.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't best 22. Would be really surprised.
Just one match sim. Didn't take too much.
That is encouraging insight. So it's good to hear. Windsor and Lowry trained in the first team. So two rookies. Windsor's 180k. More of an outside role, and then Larry, I think he posts buy in. I don't know if they have a buy in the VFL. It's a lot of 90s and 100 scores in there for VFL. Don't know the exact average, but scoring looks good in the VFL. So keep your eyes on Windsor and Larry or Laurie. We'll know that from round 0 where they're at, sort of thing. Clayton Oliver joined in with the main group for a partial bit of training, which is good for him. Obviously, we're hoping that he goes back to normality at some point. So that is Melbourne. If he plays round 1, I still wouldn't go there though, but we'll see. Moving on to North Melbourne, who of course have that lovely match sim we're all going to tune into on Wednesday. Braden George is training in the ones at halfback. So obviously they've been had halfback issues for a while now, using older heads there. So he could be one. Had that freak injury, I don't remember exactly, but he's one to watch. And if he's playing halfback, high talent, could be fieldable.
124k forward for Supercoach, so very much interested in a line that is so weak.
Yep, and McKercher in the midfield potentially.
Yeah, that's some comment was that he might be playing midfield, so because they've got these other halfbacks they're
I
trying
think
there.
the
So
exact wording was like he didn't press so much that he may just end up playing on the ball rather than starting at halfback role. I think either way.
tune in tomorrow.
Either way, it was someone that we're comfortable starting.
Yeah, we'll see.
Another Instagram one, but Taron Thomas has unfollowed North Melbourne on Instagram. Think a suspension. I don't know if it's come out yet, but
are you actually serious? How did this make it on the run sheet? What are you talking about?
I told you, Instagram is a key part of research.
It links JD. You know, he's suspended for a while, probably at some point.
So the reason why,
open spots.
Exactly. So you've got Lazaro, Powell, and Phillips, who could see, I guess maybe one of them will spend more time in that midfield with Thomas out. So I guess that's one to watch. But those players have been kind of sketchy over the past few years. So maybe one of them can consolidate a spot. So worth watching. Powell is one that is said that he'll play mid and forward. Tristan Cherry is in non-contact work after his face fracture, but seems like he'll be right for round 1. And moving on to North's next favourite team, which is Port, and the player, of course, is Horn Francis. He's been talked up quite a lot this preseason down at Alberton. So one to watch for a breakout, I think. Obviously was not quite fit, didn't have much preseason last year. And yeah, looks like he's looking really good, been overseas with Boak and whatnot. So expecting him to take a step this year. Red Rosie, probably 2 weeks ago, was on load management, did have the hamstring awareness, but that's like very minor reports. So assuming, obviously, sounds like he'll be fine for round 1 and whatnot, but just, worth mentioning. Moving on to your boys, Eno at the Tigers. Now, Liam Baker in the midfield. Any thoughts on that move?
So there's about 6-7 blokes playing midfield this year. I need to see what's going on. It's way too hard to pick what's going on. Dusty's back to a full-time mid. We got Thompson Dow's going to get a go in there.
You got Hopper, Taranto still.
There's not enough spots to go around. Shea Bolton's good
when
in
he
there
gets to come back.
Meatball when he's not injuring himself. So no idea. At least look, it's a round 0 team. It makes it a bit boring, but you can just say that. But obviously we'll watch. I think Richmond play Melbourne on the weekend. I think that's on KO. Someone sent in the Discord before. I think Sunday morning. Sunday morning. Yeah. So tune in there. I know it's an earlier one for a preseason game, but we're going to have to learn at the end of the day of what's actually going to go on. See if we can get a decent idea every few games, and then we get the one against Gold Coast in round 0 to have a proper look. So interesting. I think, the way the forward line looks, if Bakes is getting 40-50% CBAs, there's a fair chance he's. It's funny. It's all like Dusty's there, Shea. It's like the whole top 6 because of how weak it is. Could be bloody Richmond. And it's going to piss a lot of people off because I know they're prone to some poor scores at times. So I look forward to sitting back and watching that unfold.
Yeah. So, moving on with Richmond. But, Dusty's hitting PBs and we're hearing all these great things on. Dusty did have a hamstring injury early in the season, in preseason, but all good now. Shea, in the Baker article that came out today, or was it yesterday, one of the two, Shea said that Shea Bolton will spend a bit more time forward. CBAs were quite high last year. Thompson Dow's impressing. Thompson Dow's impressing, so that's one to watch. 250k mid. I have seen him pop into a few Discord teams, so keep your eye on that one.
He's interesting. It's just whether he's worth one of those mid spots. Do you pick 5 mids, and we might have 3 really good rookies to field in the midfield. So it's like, do you have a spot to pick him? If Matty Roberts is an option, right, you're going to want him on field if he's playing where he's supposedly. So makes it a bit harder to maybe fit someone like Dow in. You might have to give up a mid, but
moving on to the Saints. Not much on the Saints. Apparently Sinclair's had a minor calf issue. Nothing official, but it seems like training reports have indicated that. So, one to monitor. He's still in a few teams, old Sinclair, but seems to be behind the 650, 620k guys in terms of Supercoach preferences at this stage. Darcy Wilson to play half forward or wing. They do like him. Darcy Wilson, big work rate. And then Hunter Clark's injured, some sort of face issue or got knocked in the head or something like that, which is a concern for him. That is the Saints. Moving on to the Swans. Isaac Heaney's been playing a bit in the midfield in preseason. I dare say we've seen this 9 years straight.
How do you still read these articles, George? You get sucked in every year. He's done work in the midfield. No way. He's not going to get a sniff of it. They brought in Adams, Jordan. They've got Sheldrick waiting on the bench. Come on.
You are a hater.
I'm not a hater. He's just going to play high half forward, and that's where he did his best work. He actually looked lost in the midfield at times last year. High half forward, pushing up is okay, but no midfield time. It won't be happening.
Back half of the year when there's no forwards available, we're trading him in.
Mate, we'll look that way because unless we're getting DPPs, I don't want to think what when you bring up the average forwards, what all their averages in round 6, what that's going to look like. It's going to be disgusting.
Harley Reid's a keeper at this rate.
It'll be one key forward who's kicked the bag and propped up their average, and that's about it.
Yeah, we'll be holding Harley Reid in his management games at this rate. Matty Roberts playing half back, it seems. Still early days, but seems to be impressing. I can't remember who. Someone was massively talking him up. Might have been David King, maybe? No, it wouldn't have been him because he doesn't travel.
Someone like that. It's popped up in some best 22 predictions as well. Yeah. Who knows? Something you get to monitor.
Anyway, that's the Swans. Also, Adam seems like Adam's going to play midfield as expected. Moving on to the Dogs, Jack McRae's done a hamstring. Bit of a weird one, just showing signs of regression. Now the hamstring, it is a worry, but yeah, still in some teams. Bond's been in full training since Christmas, just had the ankle clean out. Said it wasn't a big deal when he was on radio early this year. And then James Harms is impressing. It looks like he'll be best 22 and kicked 4 in a match sim playing half forward and mid. And yeah, I guess the last one with West Coast is, Harley Reid might not play every game according to Adam Simpson. So they're
captain your players against them.
Yes, they are injury riddled at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess Yo is another one playing.
Yeah.
He's actually one of the fit ones that they have there, believe it or not. So that is interesting. But yeah, you got Port and the Dogs. I think we've got popular mids against those guys early on. So it could be captaincy there. Anyway, those are the preseason reports.
Yep.
Over to you, Anna.
As the next few weeks unfold, it's a good thing to jump in the Discord if you haven't already, just to follow that channel we have. Anyone sort of spots anything, it's hard to find everything yourself, and it's just one spot where you can go, have a scroll through once a day. You don't have to obviously keep your eyes on it, but you can just see what's the new updates been happening in match sims. It's going to come up, and any injury news, stuff like that. So it's just easy. I find it easy. JD, just pop in there at the end of the day or have a look and just scroll through what's been posted.
Of course, you guys find it easy. I'm the one that
you're the one doing
all the reports and doing all the news. George is like, I do this all day, all night. It doesn't say a bloody thing. He keeps it all for himself. So if you're in the Discord and you're finding stuff, please add it in. All right, that is the place to put it, so everyone can stay on top of what's going on in the preseason reports. Thank you. That is my piece.
George's only for his notebook. That's it.
Oh, I just keep it in their head. I got nothing on Excel or anything.
No, the Instagram notes, keep those separate. Put them to the side, all right? But the rest of it...
New channel, maybe?
Yeah.
I think we need, they got drama.
Yeah, I should have said that.
We need an AFL one. Someone, if anyone wants to make a YouTube channel, just make an AFL news and just get all the updates.
Yeah, true.
Journalism spots are hard to get these days. Just start your own YouTube channel, AFL Daily, and fire away. I'll help you out, mate.
Not a bad idea. I won't be doing that though. All right, next topic. We've got it through all that preseason reports. Probably the first and last time we'll probably do that in the podcast. It's good to get an update. We've just come back, sort of us three together as a pod. But that channel is going to be helpful towards you for the next few weeks. But we thought. Now, JD initially said, "Why don't we pick? Who do you think's our top of each line?" And I quickly said back to him, "Well, I think that's probably a pretty consensus thing." Would you see any of these people not being mentioned as your top of the line? So Dacos D1, Bont M1, English R1, and Flanders F1. Would any of you say anything different to that, or is that pretty consensus? JD, would you think?
I mean, I think if I had to lock in for now, it'd be those four.
Yeah.
The one that I'm probably least locked in on is Bont. I think there's a good chance Bont gets overtaken by someone else this year. But the problem is I have a hard time picking who it would be. But if I was to pick the field against someone, I think it'd be against Bont.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. George, would you pick the field against any of these guys, or would you pick them to continue? Or, well, I guess continue. Yeah, I think they're all top of their line besides Flanders. So yeah.
I'll take the field against English.
Okay.
I still think the split against Lob is forget the concussion stuff. Like put that to the side. I think the split with Lob will happen throughout the year, like it did in round 24. So
is that a total points like back, sort of thing as well, I guess? Do you think?
Oh, not even that.
Oh no, you're just saying that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll eat into him a bit. Could see a drop of like 10 points a game.
Yep.
Which would put him below what Max did solo.
You guys pick it against the two dogs who are like Bont 10 points per game ahead of Clary, and English, I don't even want to know, 15 points or something per game ahead. So it'd be tough. I almost want to say Flanders just because, I don't know, new coach. We think he's going to get the role in the midfield. And to be honest, there's not really any competition in the line. So I get why you guys aren't saying him. But anyway, we'll get to the point of where we think it's probably, that's very consensus that we think those four are probably the top of the line. So we're going to go to the next spot. Who do we think can be D2, M2, R2, F2? Because that's probably more interesting discussion because, it's not so clear cut. So we'll start in the defense. George, if you have to lay your flag on anyone here, not named Nick Dacos, who would you be putting it on?
I'm going to take... of using my head here, not the heart. Tom Stewart.
Oh,
wow!
Reasons?
Just the easiest role in football, and he plays it to perfection. To be fair, and he doesn't really get tagged much. There's no real moving. I got Max Holmes going back there. That's like not much else is changing. He's not a key position player. He's never really has been. So plays a flanker role that can intercept. So, I mean, probably averaged nearly, take out the injury game, probably like 115, 116 last year. Probably will do that again. So he's my D2.
Yep. JD, do you agree or do you have someone else?
No, I'm going to go hot take here. I'll pull out the hot take card. And my D2 for the year is currently not a defender. It is Nick Martin. I'm going to back him in to end up as the second best defender for the year.
So if you already had Stewart at, if you have like
115,
110 plus, you thinking?
Yeah. Let's go 110 plus, and I'll go Sicily and Stewart to slightly regress.
A little bit of drop off. Yep.
Who's your D2?
I think Stewart's a good answer. George, I still think Sicily has the most upside out of this. I mean, even Nick himself. We're not talking about him. He's clearly someone who can. He's probably going to average, 125 plus multiple times in his career. But Sicily, if everything goes right, and that's obviously the problem with him. Last year we saw, as owners, games with blank, very good, able to play that third, tall intercept role. But games when he had to play like a Jeremy Cameron and lock down, he just wasn't pretty to watch.
50 or something.
So if you could assure me that, obviously the whole year, I think it's pretty not clear because obviously Stewart and others are good in their own right, but I think Sicily would have a hard time not averaging close to sort of, high one teens and pushing 120, which he's shown in the past. But it's just that uncertainty around Sammy Mitchell and what we've seen him flicking some magnets around. He does not, he doesn't mind doing that, and then especially with this sort of rebuilding team in a sense, that can definitely continue. So I think it's the highest upside, and if it all goes well, I think Sis will finish there. So there's other reasons too, like Hardwick obviously coming out of the back line, took a lot of kick-ins, but Amon's gone back there, so you could say that's just sort of a direct swap. But I think Hardwick took like twice as many kick-ins as Sis. So anyway, I think I'll put it on Sis. But him and Stewart for me are both probably good picks.
Are we doing disrespect by not even mentioning the person that finished top for total points last year in defense?
Probably slightly.
Do you know who it is?
Yeah, I know who it is because that guy played every game, and it's bloody Luke Ryan.
Okay, as long as
With
we know
younger,
no,
I
it's
do,
not
I do.
it's not disrespectful. Let's move on. No, as long as we know who it is.
Well, he went 109 JD, and Hayden Young's gone out of the back line, but
109 or was it 106?
it was
I don't know.
it was good. It was 109. I'm looking at it.
Surely they have to change the way they play. It was a disaster last year.
Yeah, I think a lot of Freo fans say, well, I've said that for a
was
while, haven't they?
109
And it didn't
crazy.
really like.
Yeah.
I had those games at the start of the year. Remember him and Cox just playing,
Kick to
even
kick.
sharing
Yeah,
for fun in the back line. Yeah, that's just wax on, wax off. So, no, yeah, you're right. I think a lot of Freo fans share that thought, don't they, George? So, I mean, we're kind of yet to really see it. But surely, what JL's got to keep his job at this rate, really. You reckon he's under a bit of pressure? So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, surely that changes.
Should we do a D3
right.
or go to the midfield?
We can go to D3.
D3.
Maybe just one quick one because it might be a bit.
I'll go.
Go.
Yeah, I'll go Sicily. I think tags are a problem with him. Like, I think you almost have to.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be too much different.
I'll go Stewart for D3 then.
Yeah, I'll go the same. So it's not too different. We've got those guys around the top. In the midfield. So putting Bont aside, I guess you can put Clary aside to start the year. Who do you think has the best shot of, we'll just say challenging Bont, really, and if not, being that M2 towards the end of the year, George? Who have you got?
So just a quick question on this before we go. Are we going on total points on average here? Because I think the hard part is with total points, you've got some mids that I might like. So I really like Goulden, but he's got the extra buy. So might think he gets close on average.
Go
and
average.
On total points.
Average.
All right.
It's an interesting thought. Will it still count in the game, JD, like that round 0 score, even though it doesn't? Because the game hasn't officially started. Will it still show up in the?
I think it will show up in their season average because it gets included in their price movements.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine they just, but who knows? Who knows what they do?
Anyway, average. Predicting they play every game.
Okay, I'll start. I have Zach Butters.
Hey, that's a nice one.
Okay.
I think everything has to go right for him.
Yep.
See how I finished the year. I think there's 61% CBAs last year. I think that'll push probably to 70. And then Kenny's talking him up big time. Butters says he's going to tackle more. Just scores contested ball, and I think they're nailing the kicks inside 50 a lot of points in Supercoach, and he can hit them. And they feed him on the outside. He wins on the inside. I think he can do 120 plus this year.
Good. Yeah, that's a nice one. I think he's up at 33% now, George. It's sort of becoming a consensus pick. Old Zachy Butters at this point, which I remember around the time a lot of people started looking at him last year. It always made you a bit nervous about. He ended up playing every game, but it's always a thing in the back of your mind about the way he plays. And now with like bulk mid-time, there might be a few heart and mouth moments with him, but I think, all going well, he definitely has the talent. So, JD, what do you think?
I am struggling to pick out a mid that I really like as M2. So I might go left field again and pick Josh Dunkley bounce back here. After having a pretty poor year last year. Started off slow. Ashcroft in there didn't particularly help, who will be without this year. Neil's another year on and should get attention again, just given that he won another Brownlow. So I will go with Dunkley to have a very, very nice year.
George's ears pricked up then when he heard that name.
I
think it's a good one. Yeah. Like without the early buy, you'd be getting a lot more discussion. And without Ashcroft, like JD said, I think it's a good. Like, he's still in his prime, man. How old is Dunks? Like
27, I reckon.
Yeah, like he should be in the absolute prime. Neil is sort of another year older, obviously coming off a Brownlow that we probably don't want to talk about. But
and let's not forget the tattoos.
Exactly.
Let's not forget the tattoos.
Yeah.
Bring it all together, JD. It just makes sense.
Surely anything that says wash like tattoos, but no, Neil does turn 31 this year, so and like before or as the season starts around that time. So and you're right. Dunkley just turned 27, so right into that prime. No Ashcroft. Let's go Dunkley. I don't think it's one that any of us are going to start with, just because of what's happened with the buys, but keen on him.
Cool. I've got two I'm tossing up here. I want to say Dawson. I do.
Yeah.
But I still
Then you
don't
gotta
know
start
too
him.
much. Yeah, to correct, and I am thinking about it. But Tom Green's the one I'm going to stay here. He's
Yeah.
23, 24, finally coming on as a player. You know, we saw big explosion the back end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Your Cogs, you know, Kelly's certainly, Kelly's still relatively of age, but he's just entering his prime. They've been sort of nurturing him and bringing him along slowly for a couple of years. We've always sort of been wondering when, and I guess it kind of happened 2 years ago, but last year was just a real boom, and now we see him at a starting price of like over 600,000, and it just feels like the time he can really push on and just go bang for a whole year. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 120 average player, for a 2-3 year period at some point in his career, whether that starts this year or maybe sometime like next year. I'm not sure, but I'll go with him. I think without Clary, he feels just like the next Clary,
Love
the young crop.
that pick. Yeah, I mean, he had a couple of injury affected games or tags or something like that brought down his average a little bit, but the last 4 games he came back. After round 21, he went 130 in those. So
Dogs game, he went absolutely bananas.
Dogs early on, he
Yeah.
went 170 fantasy, 135 Supercoach. I would say that's like the one knock on him last year is that we didn't get any real ceiling games. So there was a 170 fantasy, 136, 141, 128 fantasy, and usually you might expect to see like a 150 plus in Supercoach. But
especially a play like him,
which is contested inside. But yeah, he only had a 145, and that was in the very final game against Carlton. That was his high score. Otherwise, everything else was kind of 135 or below those. So, you could see a couple more ceiling games, clean up some of those flaws. I could totally buy into that. And the way that GWS are playing the back end of the year clearly suited his style because that's when everything clicked into place for them. So, really, really good chance. He was like Dunkley, Green, Butters. They're probably the first 3 that I thought of. So I really like those suggestions for potential M2s.
Cool. Do we want to do any others? Just maybe a Smoky George, or do you want to move on? Bit of love for Dawson.
I've got Dawson at the moment, but my M3 at the moment. Well, if you're wondering why you've had all these outages in Melbourne, it's because Petrarch is training their house down something bad.
No, that's so bad. That's so bad.
Okay, sorry. I think unfortunately Melbourne's forward line's a mess, and I think that's going to stop him from getting there. But man, no Oliver for a bit. If that happens, and more midfield time for Petrarca, I think he'll go like 125, but might not happen. But yeah, I like Petrarca though, so I just put him in there.
Yeah, I think he said something in the pod again. Maybe watch it, George. Like he said, it's time to sort of give some younger kids some more responsibility, like Sparrows and those types in the midfield. So I just always think he's going to be that guy who plays too much time forward. And to be honest, he can score there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as big of an issue really as we think. We tend to go CBA's points, mid-time points, but Track's like probably scores most of his points inside 50 anyway. When you break it down. So I can see the guy's an absolute machine, professional. He's put the most into himself to get the most out of it. So any others, JD, you want to just
I was just going to say, like, the thing I don't like about Petrarca is people are now pretty well aware that his splits without Oliver were pretty good last year. So 124 without, 116 with. He had 10 games without Oliver. If Oliver's already integrated into the main group, I think the likelihood that he gets 10 more games without him this year is probably pretty low unless there's a major setback. So I'm probably off him. I guess as like a smoky, I like for my M3, I'd go LDU. I think he is the prototypical high-scoring mid in this game. There's just a couple of knocks, which is that he can't stay on the park and he plays for a bottom 4 team, which could definitely hold him back. So, but yeah, I mean, if I was to go smoky, I'd go LDU.
Yep. Cool. All right, into the rucks. I think it's pretty just clear. Big Timmy English, provided he plays out the year again, is gonna score the most points.
I got Rowan R1.
You really do, like, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think just doubling down last year.
Yeah, I had him R1 last year too. I just think the split will hurt English, and he's just a bit of age upside too with Rowan. So
Rowan did absolutely smash it. 130 for like the last 8 weeks or something. And then in the final too, he was huge. I mean, I can see him challenging to an extent, but
maybe the ruck rules hurt him though.
Yeah,
maybe
so
they
this
hurt
is a
both of
really
them,
interesting point.
no?
It should hurt both of them because they are more athletic rucks and like bigger, bulkier rucks like Gorn, Goldie, Briggs. These types should be able to stiff arm them out of contest a little bit more and not be jumped to like have them jump over top. Darcy's another one that will benefit as well. So yeah, I think it hurts them for both like total hitouts and hitouts to advantage as well.
Yeah, English just does so much around elsewhere that.
Yeah,
He did have a high amount of like hitouts to advantage though, still, didn't he?
Yeah, he did really well last year. I think he was one of the. I think he had the most hit out to advantage of anyone in the top 10, and that's probably partly because of who was hitting it to as well. Just one of the best midfields in the competition. But before his breakout last year, we were looking at in games where he had at least 20 hit outs, what were his scores, and they were massive. So like in last year when Dogs went up to being one of the highest stoppage teams in the competition, and he's winning his fair share to the best midfield, like. It just all came together. So I could see why it goes backwards. And look, you're right that he's never been super reliant on hitouts, but those were where the ceiling games came, like having all of that come together.
Yep. Beautiful. So George Rowan, JD, would you say anyone or? I mean, besides English, it's kind of tough, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got English still
one.
He's still in the right age too. Like, isn't he young? Is he only 26? So he should still be, improving as he grows into his body. And like, while the athleticism hurts him, isn't he one of the taller rucks as well? What's his height? 208. So yeah, I mean, he should be one that has long limbs and levers to actually push out as long as he gets the strength. But yeah, if you weren't going to go either of those two, I guess that's the interesting thing. Like, who do you think could sneak into that R1 or R2 spot this year? And for my mind, there's only two, and that would be Gorn and Darcy as really the only two alternatives.
Yep. Yeah, I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't at least mention the big fella, because look, I've backed him in, try to, hopefully get him back to his. I mean, it was only 2021, and that is 3 years ago now. So, that he went on an absolute tear. He played 21 games. He did miss one at the start of the year. He was coming off sort of a limited preseason, if I remember. And he got himself all the way up to 700,000 over towards the back end of the year when he had like 190, 180, 150, 90, 110, 120, 150. Like, he's capable of that. There's been some unfortunate, niggles along the way. One time he had to bend down and put some pressure on because Bradley Hill missed a kick and tweaked his ankle. Never forget. And then last year was just a bit of a weird start, and then he had, an absolute hot patch for a bit, and then obviously ended off the season with that injury. So reports he's been flying. The new rule that we just talked about before could be big for him. He's, could get a lot of hit-outs to advantage. They've got sort of that up-and-coming midfield, Sarong, Brayshaw, Young in there now. Fife, if he's supposedly back to his best. I think he's one that can challenge at least R2. I think English is just going to be R1 again, and we'll have to get him in at some point, hopefully for a little bit cheaper. But I think Darcy's one that can challenge to be top 2. Anything else in the ruck line?
No,
I
the
like
other
Max
one
next.
Yeah, the only other one I'd say is that like true smoky and maybe someone I'd like pick in draft to upside is Kieran Briggs. And he's only had one half season where he scored well. He went 109 in that half season. But we've kind of saw with Marshall and Gorn, like they had their seasons where they first kind of broke out at the back half of the year, and the next year they just kicked on massively. And I do wonder if that's like a similar path that we could see for Briggs, and he goes from like 109 to like a 120 this year, which would be pretty outstanding. But once again, he was cooking when GWS were cooking at the back end of the year. They don't have Flynn anymore. So, yeah, like I think small interest that Briggs actually becomes one of the top 3 rucks in the comp this year.
Yep. I think part of it's just me wanting to just move on from this Gaundy era, and it's just not happening.
Oh, yeah. It's so annoying that we're back to Gaundy, and like
so
everyone
boring.
owns them. Yeah, it's boring. It is boring.
It's like that
respect to them. Respect to them. Exactly. They've both been absolutely unreal, and now they're getting them at a cheaper price, and it's like, back to the well. And I'm like, come on. That's why I love cheering for someone like, obviously Shrek, but like even Briggsy last year, just a new guy on the block who's been toiling away in the twos, and he's come out and put his stamp as an AFL ruckman. You know,
and like if they're all like, you know, if they're a bit more expensive, then you know, at least be weighing up English and Marshall still. Yeah, like, but instead
they had to go to the same team and then cheapen themselves. Like, for God's sake, it was never going to work. Okay,
sad.
Forward line. We'll finish off with that. We all think, you know, at this point in time, Flanders can be F1 is probably the only one to really stamp towards that. You know, McRae, we won't disrespect him, but he's had a bit of just a slight fall off from his height. He's still average 99, just a tick under 100 last year, but he is getting on with age. He has done a little hamstring in the preseason, as we mentioned before. I think he'll be back training. I think, he's back training probably this week with the main group, so it's nothing super serious, but as George would say, he's done it, so he's off the list. Anyone else, like outside of those two guys, that we can even consider talking about? George, have you got anyone?
Yes, the GOAT. Isaac Heat. No, I've got Dusty F2. I got Dusty F2.
Wow.
I just think his form last year was nuts, and the way he's training seems good. So, scored out of position, which was pretty impressive. Is that going to continue for the full year? No. Can he do 100 plus? He sort of proved he could, but it's a very tough ask. So he's my F2.
Oh, it just feels so weird to say, JD, doesn't it? After the forward lines we've been discussing of years past, mentioning Dusty as possible F2 in this 2024 preseason just doesn't seem right.
No, I don't think there's any way I can back that. He's deep into his 30s. The chance he's fit for the year as well is so low.
That's my probably bigger question. I don't probably doubt his scoring ability still at this age. He just seems to have missed something. You know, had these hamstring awareness, as they call them these days. And whether that's just a week off for Dusty because it's Dusty, it still happens. Like, is it really hamstring? I don't know. Is it a little dart off to New Zealand for the weekend? Probably. But like, he still misses the game, right? You don't get the Supercoach points for, you know, how many drinks he has in New Zealand with his old man. So you need to still think of that. But that's where we're at with the forward line, JD. So if you don't want to say Dusty, who else are you going to say?
We're going to say Luke Jackson, I think. He's another one of the rucks that doesn't benefit from the rule, but maybe Darcy goes down and Luke Jackson ends up being F2 for the year. I still have McRae probably 2 and then Jackson F3. I think if I was to rank them, I'd go that. And then maybe Tigers can go 4, 5, 6. And you could have all of Shy, Dusty, and Baker in there. Yeah.
Genuinely. Maybe Shay drops off if he's touted to just stay parked a bit more forward. But Bakes could be one that sneaks up. Man, I don't even know where I want to take my claim here for the next forward out of, you know.
Say Dusty, say it.
Look, you said it, so I don't want to say the same. Caleb Daniel. No, I'm kidding. I just want to piss George off.
He killed my season at the back end of last year. Everyone talks about how good. Yeah, everyone talks about how good Dog's scoring is, but Daniel killed me for the back end of last year. And then I traded in Libba, and he got concussed. Like, mate, it was Bont and English. It was good. Everyone else was actually a trap. Dale no good. Like, just
Yeah, and I won't say a Tiger because it could be. Yeah, go on.
How nice would it be having Baslenka in your forward line right now? Like, just being able to look at him and be like, if there's one thing I can count on.
Like 440 as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was the freest.
Maybe it's Bakes. I'll just give a shout out to Dylan Moore. You know, I've seen him in a few teams here and there. I don't know if the role's ever really going to be there. He's just another one of those players that's just too good off half forward. Does a lot for the team up there. But I guess the argument is they've got, you know, Ginnivan in. They drafted Watson, the other small forward. Maybe there's time for him to go up the ground a bit into the guts. But again, they're so deep. They're not deep, but they've got a lot of players that they've played through the guts in the last year or two. And others that are still trying to get in, you know, like your C-Max or your younger C-Mac. Hawks do my head in, to be honest, with how many players they've got.
Yeah.
And it's not certain who's top in any of those positions. So,
all right, George, hypothetical. Sammy Mitchell comes out and says, I've seen the light. I've seen what George and JD have been saying for years. Connor McDonald is the truth, and we're going to give him 70%.
You're not claiming Connor McDonald. That's my pick.
I have a bandwagon, early bandwagon, all right? You've got to let me on. You've got to let me on.
All right. I think it might be a mid-season thing.
But just hypothetical, he says we're giving C-Mac 70% CBAs for the year, right? Straight out of the gate. Is he in your F1? Are you locking him in?
Not F1, F2.
Okay. I think I'd still take him F1 over Flanders, but yeah, all right.
He had his games with the most CBAs. He was a sub because they had to sub him on to play midfield. He scored 70 or 70 DT off 40% game
like a quarter and a half.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah. What was his highest games with? It's probably that one game you're talking about, 24%. That was probably in a half. So, all right. Well, that's our sort of wrap up of some other premiums besides the top that we think, the obvious ones as your Dacos, Bont, English, Flanders. So, who do you think? Put in the comments below if you had to pick sort of second in the line and beyond. Whether you disagree or agree with any of us. And let's go to the next topic, boys, because that forward line that we were just speaking about, we're going to have to speak about it some more again, but this time goes, a bit lower in price, because that's all I'm saying. You open up the Discord, see anyone post their team on Twitter, and it's just a forward line full of 200, 300k players, and maybe Flanders or McRae sitting there, and the rest is just absolute value and bargain. Do we trust any of these? So I think we should go through them sort of one by one, get your opinions. And we've got about 7 or 8 here. So I think Tom Lynch, we can get out the way pretty quickly. Maybe had some traction a few weeks ago or a month ago. Said now that he's sort of touch and go for even round 1. Won't probably play round 0. That misses his score in the round 0. Affects his price changes for another week. Coming in under, not underdone, but off a long layoff. Don't think we can pick him, can we?
Nope.
Move on. Nathan Fife.
Yeah.
Looking directly at JD here.
Let's go.
Not just you, to be honest, about 33% roughly of our viewers too, because that's roughly what the amount of sides he's in.
All right. Our viewers are more astute than the casual fan. They have got much higher ownership than 33%. I assure you of that.
Maybe speak for your viewers, because hopefully that's not mine or yours. I'll let you two go out in this, JD. What have you sort of read and seen about Fife this preseason that makes you want to go down that path?
All right. Firstly, full preseason. Most important thing here is that we've got a full preseason. We've got an old injury-prone guy, but he's got a full preseason under his belt, and that's what matters. If there's injury setbacks, we pivot off this pick very quickly. Secondly, midfield time. They have acknowledged that the forward experiment has failed. They need to play him back in the midfield. He is a great overhead marker around the ground, one of his hallmarks throughout the year, but it does not translate to the forward line, and he's not a goal kicker. So we're getting midfield Fife again. And that, to me, says so much upside in a midfield that already had lots of players scoring well. They already had Brayshaw, Sarong, Amira, Brody. They've all been able to score. Mundy, all been able to score well in that midfield. Why not Fife in 2024, assuming he's fit and playing that role? I think there'll be some management of him. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we're getting back to like a 80% plus time on ground. Fife, I think it's probably more like a 70%, 75% range. But I don't see any reason why with, 75% CBAs, 75% time on ground, 60% CBAs, that we couldn't get a solid 85 to 90 average out of him, which at his price is absolute value. Has the great buy as well. Lots to like about the Fife pick, assuming he's firing and healthy for round 1.
George, I'll let you be
Oh my God.
the rebuttal for me and a few others that might disagree. So,
how many tons did he score last year?
It's a relevant stat. All right. How much midfield time did he play at 60% plus CBAs? 0. So
he's not getting 60.
What do you mean he's not getting 60?
He won't get 60 every game. They'll kill him. He won't last to round 5 if they give him 60.
Mate, he didn't last playing forward, so I don't know, may as well do something with him.
How many games over 75 out of 9 or 10 games?
2. Yep, 2 scores over 75 last year.
Wrong. 1.
No, round 13, round 15. Well, I guess equal to 75 is not over 75. Technically, you got me. Oh.
Okay.
Put the cutoff there.
Yeah.
I guess I can see like the role will be good. The role for a lot of other players is bad. He's old. He looks slow. They have perfectly fine cover for him. I don't know why they're still playing him, other than the fact that he's Nat 5.
He's a dual Brownlow medalist. Come on. Respect on the name.
Michael Jordan won 7 championships. He's 50 now. He's not good anymore.
Did you not love his Wizards career? That was great.
30 shots a game and 20 points a game.
Yeah.
Do you worried at all about his maybe being a sub candidate, JD? You know, playing like a 3/4 and getting subbed. Stuff like
I think
that.
that's totally possible. But he's what's he priced at the moment in Supercoach?
Not a hell of a lot.
50, 51, something like that.
Yeah.
So in a line where we're not getting much, I think the likelihood that he goes
70s,
like
right?
75 plus is like super
A
easy.
win.
His job security is, I think, locked, and some of the others that we'll talk about won't be locked. Yeah, there is some sub risk for management though, and maybe if they get blowout wins early on, he's someone that they look at managing in the 4th. I could see that being possible. But like also knowing Fife, he's not the type to want to be managed either. So I think there will be some give and go on that. Like, yeah, there's some management of his body, but if he's feeling good, I don't think he'd rest just for rest's sake.
Look, I honestly think this is a joke, this is not going to work.
Let me be.
I think you can honestly get 120, 130K out of a rookie, and I'd be shocked if you got that out of Fife.
That's where I was going to sort of sit on the not sit on the fence, but be devil's advocate on JD's side and say, you don't need 15, 10, even 10 games out of him, right? If he's coming in with a full preseason, they give him the shot at the start of the year to play a bit more mid-time than he has in the last year or two. You get 6, 7, 8 rounds out of him. Gets to 400K? Would you call that a WJD? And
yeah,
it's all about the timing of getting off him, right? You know, you don't want to carry him too much further to where he hurts you with a bad sub score, injury score, something like that. It's going to come down to that, and I don't want to back myself in really personally to time that well. So that's probably why I'll stay avoidant. But
I mean, a couple of nice little things on the fixture here. So North round 2 for Freo. That's a big score waiting. And then West Coast round 6. Like beautiful. A couple of real nice games there just to juice those numbers.
Yep.
I know we've heard this story before in preseason. It's looking good. Fell apart instantly.
It did. It did. What it fell apart round 1 last year. didn't last one game out.
Oh, I'm just a little PTSD of me seeing another Freo player that's under 300K doing me in. So maybe JD's trying to get sort of redemption there from a couple of years back, and I'll sit here with neither of it. I'll get neither, and I'll be
actually. This is a great point. If Will Brodie could start at the same point and average 100 for the year,
why can't Nat Fife?
Why cannot
one of the best players we've seen in the last decade?
Exactly.
It's going to happen to me, right? I'm not going to go. And
the competition's agreeing with you though, JD. It's 33% owned is pretty significant. I don't know. Maybe I just think differently or wrong. I don't know. It's a no from me though.
No, I mean, we've spoken about this for a bit in the Discord, but what ownership is not the coaches that we're playing against. What you really care about is what serious coaches have. So
I almost feel like 50 or 60s. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So
33 is over half of them.
Let me check. There must be a Fife poll on the Discord recently, which has a better reflection of what his ownerships are. Let me try and bring that up because I actually think we may be under that. I don't think he's actually a very popular pick. I know Yo is not.
555. Yeah, and Yo. I mean, Yo is 400 and something K. So that to me seems like a no, just definite no.
Oh, okay. So 20 of 58 have Fife at the moment. So that is the percentage for those playing at home. 35%. Okay, so it's about bang on average. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see, George. I might want to see a game, one of the practice games, and just use my eyes and see how does he actually look out there, because that's probably all I'm going to be able to go off. Obviously, a bit of roll, see what the mid-time truly is, but just see if he's actually moving a bit better than what we've got in our minds of his last few appearances on a footy field. So we should move on. We've spoken enough about Fife, probably.
Shout out to this Discord user's great name, Daddy Parish. What an excellent name. But he polled a fair few of these mid prices all at once about a week ago. So we've got some good numbers on all of them. So Lynch, no one of 59 voters had Lynch. or 58 voters. So yeah, yep.
They all thumbs it down. Cool. Yeah, and then Fife was, as you said, at about
20 or 58 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So next one, James Jordan. Obviously moved across to Sydney. Seen mixed reports. Maybe some D's fans are, giving some negative ones, and everyone else, in Swansland's giving some good ones. But I think, as far as I'm aware, there's a role for him somewhere on a wing, maybe half forward, something like that. So, what have you guys seen about James Jordan, and are you considering him at all, George?
Sounds like potentially wing, which is a hard no from me. I'd like to see the role in round 0. This is one I'm not fully across. I know his junior number, VFL numbers were nuts, like 126 DT average, which is incredibly good. So can score. I need to see a bit more. I know he spoke about getting continuity, like being dropped, being the sub. Like he doesn't want that anymore. So see if he can consolidate himself. See how he looks in the preseason. I want to see CBAs. Pure wing is a no from me.
Yep. Yeah, he's just another one of those round 0 players, right? So, could see what happens. The 275, it's a bit hikey. But I think he's shown in the past the ability to get up to I think he's been 400k plus before in a previous
Done 70s
season.
on the wing.
So it's possible. JD, what are your thoughts?
So what? I'm just trying to have a look at how many sub games he had last year. I think it was 8 of 18. So he comes in very heavily discounted just based on how little he was used last year. And yeah, it's come across obviously to get more continuity and play a proper role. I think he's at the point where he's played over 50 games now in his career. He's getting to that point where he's, physical prime, the type of players we like to pick for breakouts are those that have swapped clubs for more opportunity. I think the one concern is the role and exactly what that looks like, because wings can score okay on Sydney, but it's not always the case. And if he is competing for a wing role, they've also got Goulden, McInerney, and Campbell as the incumbents there. So, what does that exactly look like? I think there's, some positive stuff in the preseason, at least from what I've read, which is was second in the time trial post Christmas, just behind Goulden, and then I had been talked up really highly in some of the intra work they'd been doing as someone that was competing well and, spending a bit time inside and outside. So getting a better mix of the two. But yeah, some concern over, I guess, what exactly that role looks like, what the scoring potential is in it, and then the best 22 job security as well.
Yep. One of the guys we'll be watching very closely the next few weeks. Maybe another one is Harms, but I think it's pretty set, George. You're across the Dogs mostly that he's going to have a role. He's in their best 22. They like what they see from him. It's just a matter of, how much mid-time, I guess, compared to half forward will he be getting?
I don't know what the split will be. Sounds like he's got a bit of, obviously, like mid-time again. In intra clubs is like sketch, 2 teams, but
yeah,
apparently he's just looked good. I think he's done 3 hamstrings in 18 months, which is not great, but 250k. At least he's like 28, so age should be in his prime, really. With the full preseason, I'll probably just take that bet. He's in my team at the moment. Am I confident in him? Not at all, but we'll see. So,
yeah.
I know there's a few Dogs podcasts. I think one is Inside the Kennel on YouTube. They're pretty good. They've got insider stuff, and they really like him so far. So, looks like he'll play. And I think a lot of these forward rookies who I'd like to run might be sub risk. So, yeah, might need to pay up, but we'll see.
Yep. JD, just it looks like one of those ones people are sort of over. Just as George said, as probably the most security of being in the team that we know of right now. And we don't exactly know the role, but maybe the best of the lot so far. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't really like Harms to pick, and I think the inside mid-time that he talked about was overblown. I think what players talk about as mid-time is different to what we look for as mid-time. So we're looking for like that high CBA, always on the ball role, where what I hear from Harms when he says he's going to play mid-time
forward half,
is similar probably to what his Melbourne role was. I think for me, conceptually, I find it hard to imagine that they would play him more CBAs than what McRae did, and McRae was 35%. So if he's got a similar role to what McRae did last year, what is his upside in that role? I think the good news is that Melbourne was 14th for ruck contest last year. Dogs were second, so very high stoppage team compared to D's. So it does give him more opportunity to push up and be around the ball and be involved in that. But yeah, like I'm not super optimistic about him. He is someone that I've considered starting because I have Fife and Jordan in my team at the moment. But part of the reason why is they're just more expensive than Harm. So I know I can move down to him pretty quickly and free up some cash. So it's probably more a safety and structuring thing than anything at the moment. Yeah, like not confident on any of these guys.
Yeah. Yep. It's the way it looks right now. That's why we got to keep a close eye on all of them. There's a few more. Maybe one's not as enticing. I'll just bring up Billings maybe first here. I was going in price order, but he's probably sort of the next in a similar group to the ones we've mentioned so far. And yeah, just another point of, is he best 22? I think he more than likely will be, but it is a hard team to crack into still, Melbourne, and we're going to have guys like Clary, he still might play round 0 or round 1, and that'll be a good indicator if Billings is in the team with him. But Cozzy, right? Is he missing the first game?
Suspended, yeah.
Suspended, right? Still carried over. So maybe, is he on the fringes? It's tough because they actually got quite a good bit of young talent there, George. So it's still not an easy. It's a good list, Melbourne, and it's hard to crack into.
Yeah, hopefully he's not on the wing. They can play Hunter, Langdon, Windsor on the wings. Not sure where Hunter's at the moment regarding injury, but we want Billings half forward, and he can score in that role. He's new club. He needs a fresh start. He needed one badly. Didn't really have a clean run. Like had a hamstring issue. And before that had a pretty badly broken leg. So he's had injury problems where hasn't really been given a chance to have a good preseason and then good form. So that's his chance now, and I think he's got a point to prove. So, and as you said, as Track was saying on the Dylan Friends, he's a good ball user inside 50, and we saw in the final series, the first half, it was just they almost lost the game. They basically lost the game by bombing it the whole time, and they need someone who can lower their eyes with confidence to kick it inside 50. That's hopefully him. If he's there round 1, he will be in my team.
I'd be so surprised if he wasn't best 22. I think something disastrous has to happen with injury and all that for him not to be there. And one of the things that D's track watchers have talked about most that have been impressed with him in the preseason is that link up between D50 and forward 50, which is something they lacked for sure. How many times did we see the ball get kicked long to Gawn, only for Gawn to Butterfinger it last year? One of the most frustrating things you'll ever see. So yeah, I think Billings does add that class. I think he's underrated a bit just because of his injury-affected years in a relatively average to poor St Kilda side. The one thing I would say is that they have managed him for periods in the preseason with soreness. So while he's not injured, I still think there is some body management that's going on, given he turns 29 this year, which is surprising because he looks so young. He looks like he could be 22 or 3, right? But you forget that he's played nearly 150 games now. So yeah.
Yep. Classic Billings. I mean, we forget he's had years of 90 plus, multiple, 5 or something, 4 or 5. So we used to own him in 5 or 6 years ago when the forward line was weak back then as well. He was an option. So to be at this price, yes, his last 2 years have just been pretty much write-offs. But fresh start, I think, definitely someone we have to consider. It's just a matter of, is he best 22 and where's he fit in?
That's the thing with all of Billings, Harms, and Fife, right? They've all had history of being able to score more than enough. It's just who can get back there this year, whether it be through fitter body, new team, new role.
Yeah, those 3 you mentioned, all new teams. A couple more to get at. Yep. Jordan, Harms, and Billings, those 3. So Elijah Hewitt, when we ran similar price, we're just going around this price bracket. Yeah, might not
going to be there around 1
required Eagles, but he's one that is around that price. Dev Robertson, sorry.
Yeah, also injured.
Yeah, it's just
wrist second surgery,
crossing them off like flies. And then the last one, JD, to you is Elijah Tsardas. Is that how you say it? I think.
I believe so.
So Hobbs going down. We mentioned off the top, George did that. Yeah, I mean, you obviously got your mainstay midfielders, and is he sort of fighting around with Hobbs and Setterfield for can he get a role in the midfield, or has he got to play elsewhere to get some games? What do you think?
Sorry, talking to me about Sardis. Sorry, I thought I had George for some reason. We're getting to that point in the podcast. We've passed an hour. And
Over an hour,
I'm struggling. And then your camera's frozen as well. So I'm like, who are you looking at? It looked like you were looking towards George's side. Anyway, sorry, Sardis. I think, he should be best 22, but I still see him as fringe. So I think he's a sub-risk at points, and there's a chance they manage him throughout the year. And I don't think it's going to be an inside role he plays. It'll probably be half forward up onto the wing. I'm sure they'll give him a chance to be at stoppages just because that is where some of his better work has been done in the past. But it's probably going to be quite hard to predict. And then the last part is that they've done a fair bit of work at trying to correct or improve his kicking form, depending on how you look at it, which wasn't a weakness coming out of draft, but definitely seemed to be one last year. So when you try and correct a player's kicking like that, you can have it come back even further as they adjust to this new style until it becomes kind of second nature and they adjust to it. So there's definitely been some Sardis kick watchers at Bombers headquarters bemoaning basically how slowly that's progressing. And I think it may not be as much of a problem for fantasy, but definitely for Supercoach where efficiency matters. If he's playing more outside and his kicking isn't developed along as far as we could have, he probably puts him behind some of these other options that we've talked about in terms of Jordan, Billings, Harms, Fife.
Yep. Cool. Any others, George? Quick mention around that sort of area?
No.
Nothing. I think you said someone like maybe a Combin JD, maybe playing defense. Not sure if he's in the best team.
Yeah, he's very, very cheap, and North are struggling for keys. So they even they cheekily put out a video of him taking a kick in, I think, on Twitter or Instagram or something like that. So yeah, following that Tim English mold of the tallest guy on the team taking the kick ins.
Yeah. Not much else. So that's sort of all in that range that I think a lot of people are debating to cheap out in the forward line this year. So yeah, keep an eye on them for the next few weeks. And we'll finish off with some high-owned fades. So just a bit of fun here. Some guys that do we want to phrase it that we think will not going to start no matter what, or more towards just guys that aren't maybe someone who hasn't entered your team but is in 20+% of sides, so far. Because I'm sure if we say they're absolutely not going to be in our team and we end up starting them, that'll get clipped and reposted somewhere in round one.
Yeah. But I can start by setting myself up.
Yeah.
I will not start Sam Walsh.
Okay. Oh, why? Buy or not a believer?
Buy. I am somewhat a believer. I think he'll be 110 plus. I do recall the game style changing for Carlton. I posted this in Discord almost 2 months ago. So post by Chera, Cripps, and Walsh marks basically cut in half after the Gold Coast game.
Yeah.
So maybe that affects him a little bit. I'm not sure Walsh is guaranteed. Is he 70-80% CVAs? I'm not sure. I probably should be. And then on Dylan Friends, he said, on Dylan Friends, he said it might take 12 to 24 months to get over his back issue, but clearly going to be far better prepared this year than last. So honestly, I'm not actually as confident in saying that he's a fade because I should not doubt Sam Walsh. That's very silly. Be made to look stupid there, but he's someone that I won't pick regardless. But
yeah, you can just say start and trade into him right after his buy. He's looking good.
I probably won't even do that. I think there's enough mids that can go with him without using a trade.
Yeah, it just depends. He's a bit of value, right? But I guess if you don't start it, that value quickly goes if he's any good. So, JD.
All right. So I think if I'm just looking down the list, the highest owned player that I'm probably not likely to start is, he's going to haunt me again this year, but it's going to be James Sicily, I think. The 114 average he put up last year was, historically good numbers for him and a lot of really high ceiling games in there. I think the point around he makes sense to tag if you want to stop the Hawks or put some defensive work into him makes sense. And we saw over the back end of the year when they started playing around with others at halfback, including Amon, that he lost kick-ins and his scoring went away a little bit with that as well. So all of these things state to me that he's going to regress a little bit. So rather than a 114 average, maybe more in the 105 to 110 range. So not worth starting for me for someone that I think will go backwards. But of course, Sicily could burn. Don't get me wrong. He could absolutely burn. But yeah, I think he's going to go a little bit backwards, and I'll probably try and grab him at a cheaper point later in the year.
I do hope you're very wrong about that, as someone who's probably the most likely to start him. But hey, that's the game. It's tough. I'm looking at some players here. I'm probably looking towards the midfield as well, like George. And I think, again, someone like Goulden is very easy to say due to, having one of those early buys. Is that quite an elevated price? Is he going to get full mid-time? They've obviously brought in, guys like Adams and, I'm not sure what his CBAs ended up being sort of as a total at the end of last year, but there was periods when Errol was, out on a wing or not playing midfield at all. And look, he still can score in those games. He's shown, how good he is, but there were some where he wasn't. So I'll probably say Errol is someone I don't think he's entered my team once, and I don't think he probably will before round 1. But it just feels like a bit of a cop-out since he has a bye, and I can just use that as a bit of an excuse. So I'll probably say someone like, again, maybe I was going to say Tuke, but he's one of those players too. So someone without the bye, so it's not Jack Steele. I just can go back there until he doesn't have a buy, right? And he's just
is he highly
at
owned?
at a cheaper price. He's not.
He's creeping up though.
As the others, but he's in like 12 or 13%. I know he said 20 plus, but the guys with buys were too easy to say. So, someone like that. I don't want to go too much into it because. There's not too much to say, but just the way he ended the year last year, he had a couple of good games here and there, but most of them, watching him in my team was a bit hard to watch. So, we'll go with him. But, mostly Errol. Someone, he's had his first really good year and with that early bye. And I guess there is some doubt about his midfield. There is some doubt, I guess, about his midfield time, so that's a decent point to make until we see it. Anything else, lads? Sign off. It's been a good hour and 20 minutes back in the podcast world. Getting the North game in at 10 a.m, boys?
Footy's basically back. I'll probably give that one a miss, but I'll read the reports. But Sunday morning, KO game start. So that's pretty exciting because it's been like a dog without water at the moment. Just need to be fed.
Is that a saying? Dog without water need to be fed?
Need to be thirsty. I don't know, bro.
Is that a South Australia thing? Yeah.
We do have Adelaide water.
They breed them different over there. I think the best part about footy being back in these interclubs is things will start moving pretty quickly once we actually get to see players, more and more in position in dress rehearsal. So, we mentioned Braden George, for example, potentially playing halfback role. Like we'll get better feel on all of these things as soon as we start getting some televised games. And then, as you mentioned, some of the proper intra-clubs from KO this weekend as well. So, definitely things will start moving pretty quickly from here on out, I'd say. So good to be back on the horse without water, as they say in South Australia. So, I look forward to the next pod. I think we'll hold off until we have some actual things to talk about from some footy. That's it's hard doing one of these, going off some stuff from last year, a bit of speculation. So that'll be good. I don't know if my internet held up, but we had a massive power outage today in Melbourne down here, where neither of you boys are. It was ridiculous. Like it was 30 degrees like in the morning till about 11 a.m. and then the hail hit, the rain started coming down and it bucketed for like 2 hours and it was still hot. And then there's huge power outages everywhere. So I don't know if the internet's recovered or something's still going on with the connection, but hopefully that's all good for next time. Beautiful. All right. Catch you, boys. It's been a good one. We'll see you on the next pod in, week or two. When we've got some stuff to talk about, and we'll get to that then. So until next time, cheers.
See you guys.
Is it delayed? Is it pretty bad?
It's just your camera. It's not your voice. So it's
Oh,